Folks, welcome to yet another 100 before 40 race update, race review. In this video, folks, we're going to talk about the Three Amigos. Yes, you heard right, the Three Amigos. Not the kind of Three Amigos that some of you might be thinking of. We're not talking about that 1986 comedy. We are talking Three Amigos in terms of running. There's a race weekend where you can run the three friends. You start in Pretoria at the Wonderpark Akasia Marathon. Then you drive 310 kilometers to Ottosdal and you do the Ottosdal Marathon in the evening. Then you drive back to Benoni and you do the mighty Jonhson Crane. And you have about 30 hours and 30 minutes to complete these tasks. So the running itself, folks, is about 17 hours and 30 minutes broken down like this. You have 6 hours to run the Wonderpark Akasia Marathon because it's a 6-hour cutoff. Then you have 5.5 hours to run the Ottosdal Marathon, 5.5-hour cutoff. The mighty Jonhson Crane has a cutoff of 6 hours. So you have 6 plus 5.5 plus 6. That gives you 17 hours and 30 minutes. If you subtract that from the 30 hours, 30 minutes that you have to run, I think you are left with 13 hours. And in those 13 hours, you have to drive 620 to 630 kilometers. And in between, you also have to sleep. But as these things go, folks, you drive from Pretoria and you get to Ottosdal. It's like around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. You can't really sleep, so you hang around and do other things waiting for the race. By the time you finish the Ottosdal, like me, you will hear all about it, how much time I took to finish that. You have probably about 5 hours to drive from Ottosdal to Benoni and sleep and run the next race. So we are going to tell you all about it, folks, in this video. And if you don't have a lot of time to watch, we'll put some chapter markers though. So if you're only interested in the Wonderpark Akasia, just check in the timeline there. You'll see where you can go straight to that. And if you're only interested in the Ottosdal, you can also check in the chapter markers there, go straight to that. And if you're only interested in the mighty Jonhson Crane, you can do the same. And those who are interested in the conclusion, whether I will go back and all that, you can also find that. First things first, folks, let's talk about the Wonderpark Akasia Marathon. And as usual, we start with getting there. The Wonderpark Akasia Marathon is in Pretoria. I think it's west. Yeah, I think it's west. If I'm wrong, well, correct me, guys, in the comments. Just put the right coordinates there. It's not very far from where I stay, from my place. It's probably about 70 to 80 kilometers tops. So it's a morning drive. You don't have to sleep over. That's exactly what I did. I had an early morning. I woke up at 3 o'clock, got ready for the race. I think by 3:45 I was done. But because of nerves and all that, and I hadn't run a marathon in a long time, I sort of chilled in the house and forgot about traffic and all those things. And when I eventually got on the road, I arrived at the race at about 5:30. As is the case normally with city marathons, I did battle a bit to find parking, but I did not park on the outskirts. I followed the other cars that were bent or hell bent on parking in the mall. So that's why I battled a bit. But if I had chosen to just park at the earliest parking space that I found, I wouldn't have battled with the parking. The only problem would have been the distance to get to the start. And these things are much easier in the morning when you're rushing off to the race. But after the race, there tends to be a challenge. So I stuck with the queue until I parked right inside the mall, in the mall parking, the shaded parking, I must say. Folks, welcome to the 100 before 40 things. It's 2023. The running season has kick-started. This is the Wonderpark Akasia Marathon or race. My first race for 2023. So we will have to see how it goes. But first things first, folks, let me just tell you some stories. So I always accuse people of not reading. And today I was a victim of that. Or maybe I was the one who didn't read. I came thinking the race starts at 6 o'clock. It turns out it starts at 5:30. So I started late, right in the back. Don't know if you can see there. Hopefully I'll catch up. So I was taking my time, putting my race number and all that. there, thinking I have time in the back, only to be told that the race has already started. So now we'll just have to see how it goes, folks. I hope I catch up. Once I got into the thick of things, I slowly caught up. In fact, it didn't take me too long to catch up. I think by the time I got to the 3rd kilometer, I was already passing the other folks. I don't know whether they had started late or they'd started on time, but it didn't take me too much time. The only thing though, folks, as you'll see as I pass these people here, I was kind of nervous because I wasn't so sure if I should go fast or just maintain a consistent pace, because as you know, folks, those who are in the running circuit, speed kills. If the faster you go early in the race, you will pay for it later on. So I had to be conscious about that, and I had to sort of keep myself back. Each time I was pushing too hard, each time I was approaching just below 6 minutes per kilometer, I would hold back, because I knew it was going to be a long day and I did not want to make it any worse. And I don't know, folks, whether it was adrenaline or nerves or whatever it was, but the first half actually flew by quickly. I think maybe it was the excitement that, yeah, 2023 is here now, we are back to running, but the first half flew by just quickly. And the other thing with the Akasia or the Wonderpark Akasia Marathon is that there are so many twists and turns, so it's quite easy to deal with it mentally, because when you come around the corner, you're not facing a long hill that you have to calculate, oh my god, when do I get to the top, how do I get there? There are twists and turns, so even if it's a hill, it's a very short hill, then you turn left and you go a very short down, you turn right, that sort of thing. So that made things slightly easier for me. I speak for myself as usual. It made the kilometers fly by quite easier, because it didn't have these long and monotonous stretches that you experience in some of these races, especially the out and back races. I love them, but sometimes mentally it's quite challenging when you're looking at those sort of stretches. But folks, because I had started late and for the first time ever in my running marathon, so I'm talking about these 2-lap marathons, I've never been lapped or passed by the leading guy or leading lady. I always make sure that I get to the halfway where they come and split as they are now going towards the second half. They never pass me, but this time around, folks, it happened. I was lapped by the leader. As I was trying to negotiate the 20th kilometer kind of thing, the leader, Stephen Mkoka, just came and flew by. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, Stephen Mkoka is an Olympic marathoner and all that. He has won all these races. Recently, he won the Cape Town Marathon. So, folks, if you think I was really bad, I was passed because I was really bad. No, I was passed because this gentleman is just good. He came flying past us around the 20th kilometer. And then, folks, a while later, and I mean it when I say a while later, because these elite runners are normally always like 10-15 meters apart. But for this one, folks, the leader had flown by, he had gone, and a while later came number 2, and then after that came number 3. I don't remember seeing number 4 and all of them. So those ones I can safely say they could not catch up with me. They did not lap me, as it were. I would like you to have a look at this. I've never seen one of these on the road. I don't even know if they're still on the road. But yeah, that's it, face to face. That's really funny looking, to be honest. It's a towing truck. Sorry, this is not a paid for ad. I just like the vehicle, so yeah. Let's just go and decide. Like I said, folks, this is not a paid ad. I just like the vehicle, and yeah, look at that. How much does that thing weigh?
I'm not sure, but it's a...
So there's a gentleman from Brits Towing.
Yeah. The chassis is I think about 1965, and the equipment on that is from the 40s, 1945.
There you go, folks. So for those who don't understand what chassis is, that thing at the bottom, the base, and that head thing, the truck itself is 1965. And then that stuff there in the back that lifts your car and all that, that's from the 40s. So this thing must be heavy, guys, because back then they made these things from proper, I don't know, iron, whatever, steel. So yeah,
probably about 10 tons.
10 tons, and this thing alone. Now imagine if this thing breaks down and they must tow it.
This thing tows the broken down vehicles.
Now this one apparently is not supposed to break down, but yeah, that's a massive piece of steel there. Eh? Then folks, the second lap was kind of challenging. So even though I said the first one flew by, the second lap was quite challenging because the sun had now come out properly and the heat was just baking us. I mean, when people said well done, I knew what they were talking about. We were well done meat, not because we were doing well. We were well done meat. The heat just came down, and that heat, folks, had a few casualties. I remember I saw at least 3 runners that collapsed. The first 2 here, they were just sitting down trying to explain, give me water and that. But the third one, this was just after the 41st kilometer marker, the lady was completely out. I mean, the guys who were helping her were calling her and trying to talk to her, but she was just not talking. She was completely out. And that kind of gave me chills, folks, because I know these things. Running is not easy, especially running a marathon in that heat, and if you don't... All right, folks, it's the 100 before 40 things as usual, or maybe not as usual, because there's a lot that's going on. And much earlier, we were at Akasia Wonderpark, and I didn't catch up with Don as we normally do because I arrived late and I started late. As I said earlier, I started about 10 or 15 minutes late, but I think in the end, I've now been informed it was 10 minutes late. So Don was long gone by that time, but I found him. He finished, showered, and even ate breakfast before I finished. And now we have to do this review from the back of the car, because if we don't do it now, we might just get confused because there's a lot that is going on this weekend. And yeah, so because Don started and finished first. he goes first. He will tell us about his experience with Akasia. John.
Oh yeah, Akasia, thumbs up. Akasia today was really nice. Apart from the heat, everything else was on point. Race preparations good. We had water sachets. Wow, that's becoming quite rare in Gauteng, where we get cups and all that stuff. So with water sachets, we had all the good food and all that stuff. We even had a click session, click water station. Wow, that click water station was packed to the brim. Unfortunately, there were no supplements there, but they did make well on the food. There was the clicks water point on point. I see there's competition about water stations right now. The last water station that was really nice was the waterfalls. Giving out shout out to Waterfall AC. But the clicks one does also take the cup this time around. Very nice 2-lapper. Second lap became hot, but we still soldiered on and finished in good time. Now we on to the next one. Like he says, he was chasing. I think he had a good time chasing up all the people in the race.
Today I chased and chased, guys. I was right at the back. I saw the struggle at the back there. It's a real struggle. It's not it's not a joke. It's a real struggle, guys. I chased and because I started late, I paid for it in the heat. And I'm not going to repeat what Don has said. It was brilliant. Water was on point. The water points for 8 stations. That's the fancy word for 8 stations. Not water points. They were serving all sorts of things. They were brilliant. And it's a pity I didn't see the actual official start. I have no doubt that was also exciting. So, folks, from me, if you ask me whether I would advise or recommend that you do Akasia Wonderpark Akasia, definitely I would recommend. It's a must do. I think it was my second one. I can't remember when I did the first one. I even like lost track of the twists and turns, which is a good thing because they are not like long hills. They are like twists and turns. So short hill, twist and turn, except for one which probably was almost 500 meters. Other than that, it's twist and turns. You go up, you go down, and all those things. The heat, as Don said, is also something that you need to deal with. Unfortunately, the race organizers cannot organize that. That just comes only so January. So if you're looking for an early, okay, not early because it's now end of January, but if you're looking to kickstart your season any year,
it's a good qualifier and good time.
Yeah, Wonderpark Akasia is a good one. It's in the mall. We must mention that too. It's right at the mall. So once you finish, everything is right by you. You know, you can go and get your breakfast. You can even go and get groceries for the day and hop into your car and go home. You're done for the day. So Akasia, I can't really give you thumbs up because my hands are holding everything up. A big fat thumbs up. Right. And folks, as usual, if you enjoyed this video, please give us a fat thumbs up. Go there, subscribe, and click on the notification bell. You know why? So that you get notified when we post something new. Other than that, folks, it's been a good Akasia. Now, on to the next one.
Where are we now?
Up on time. See, we brought the pink tutu today. Don't say where's the pink tutu. It's come before the storm. You will see him when he's in his zone.
There is no come.
Do some admin if you're not so organized to do these things pre-entry. I did a pre-entry, I just walked in. I even walked out with the t-shirts. Okay folks, this is my very first Ottosdal, so I must tell you all about it. When you get your number, you get a small slip like there. Okay, that slip you must take it out and throw it in here, somewhere in here. So let me take mine out first. Okay, so this is where I must stick mine. John says you could win a diamond, so yeah, prayers and everything. Folks, what's happening now? What's happening now is we grab something to eat. John, what is this? It's a boss roll, but it had a fancy name. We haven't tried it yet, so we'll see how it goes. And there's a whole lot of a vibe going on. John has done this before.
The whole community is here.
Yes.
So we're ready to go.
If you look, let's just turn around.
Oh, there's a beer garden there. And there's some little girls having some milk fun. I think they got it from that area there.
So there's a whole lot of a festival going on. You can even shop for clothes and all that. This side. See there. You can shop for clothes. So like we said to you folks, it's a whole lot of a festival that goes on. So the 5K is about to start. It starts I think an hour before us. And yeah. And the little boys and girls in front there look like they are ready for it. I've been waiting for it for the whole year. Like this is it now. Enough, or they have to go for it. These kids are flying, they don't know how long a 5K is. So folks, we are about to kick off our marathon. Marathon number 2 today. We will tell you all about it. You know how we roll. We run a marathon, we tell you everything.
It's just a couple of back runs.
We'll be right. We'll be okay.
Yeah, should be.
Alright, we need to dash off to the start now because everyone is standing by the start and we're still here entertaining you guys. I started late earlier and I'm not going to repeat that. You know, I shouldn't be running late. Okay, yeah, literally running late.
No, not late. We're on time.
Okay, cheers, folks.
Cheers. Bye.
Then folks, the Ottosdal race was now on and I was quite excited because it was my very first Ottosdal marathon to run out there. I think I've run at night at the Randburg Harriers, Valentine's Run and so forth, but not a marathon in the evening. So I was quite excited. Little did I know that things would go pear-shaped quite quickly because of some poor judgments that I had made, especially on the hydration side. So we are about 2.5 kilometers into the race and everyone else seems to be on a mission. They have all flown out and left near the back as usual. But the plan is to keep going slowly and just see how it goes, because it's a long day. It's been a long day, in fact. So for the first 14 kilometers or so, the sun was still up and it was setting slowly, so it was still bright and all that. But by the time I got to the 14th kilometer, folks, I was struggling. My stomach then started running itself. I mean, you may say it got the memo. It understood that it was a running weekend, so it decided, I'm gonna join in the fun. So my stomach started giving me issues, and I think from the 14th kilometer, I battled to run, because the faster I tried to run, the more I was just aggravating this stomach or irritating it. So I ended up walking almost 5.5 kilometers just to get to the turnaround. And the good thing is we were running, so it was an out and back. You go out of town, you run past these farms and all that, and it was getting dark and dark and dark. So by the time my stomach got really bad, it was now dark, and we were in the farming areas. So it was not really difficult, folks, to deal with this running tummy. It is what it is, folks. I don't know what. So, folks, this is what's happening now. This is the turnaround point, 21.1 kilometers. I just did that in 2:34. It's been a tough run so far, but no marathon is easy. So we'll just have to see how it goes. In the second half, after the turnaround point, I really battled. I must have gone for, I think, 4 toilet breaks. That's just how bad it was. And the faster I tried to run, the worse it became. So I was reduced to basically just a shuffle. And a lot of people that were behind me much earlier came and passed me. And at some point, I was really behind. I was right at the back. But I had to deal with it, folks, because it is what it is. You make your bed, you lie in it. I made poor decisions. I had to deal with the consequences of those poor decisions. And then, folks, you remember that I talked about the guys that had collapsed at Wonderpark or Akasia race. Those scenes kept playing in my mind. So I think it was after 26 kilometers, or between 26 and 36, things were not really going well for me. I remember feeling lightheaded, and I could tell that as I'm running, I'm veering off the road, or as I'm walking, I'm veering off the road. So then I started having all these thoughts, folks, that okay, it's dark, there's no one behind me because everyone else has left me. If I collapsed here, will people find me now, or they would have to wait until the race is over, when the pink tutu runner then says, hey, but I can't find my friend? Because I wasn't sure, folks. You keep veering off the road, then you fall into the grass. People wouldn't find you immediately. They'll probably only find you later. And yeah, I started having all sorts of thoughts. And when I look back and I think about it, I was hallucinating. I don't know whether it was because I was low in sugar, hungry, just fatigued and all that. I don't know, because by that time, I remember I had woken up at 3 o'clock. And that time it was now something after 10 p.m. We're now heading towards 11, or is it just after 9:30, let's say. And I had been up for a long time. I think it was in excess of 18 hours with no sleep. So I started hallucinating, and I could see my demise and all that. And I could see someone standing over me saying, here lies a man who wanted to run 100 marathons before he turned 40, but sadly he couldn't make it. I say it on a lighter note, folks, but at that time it was a bit scary because it was dark and I didn't have a lamp, which I don't, and I wouldn't recommend you run with one, because it sort of just takes away from the atmosphere. If you do go there, maybe take the lamp with you and keep it in the pocket, but experience the lanterns that they put along the road. So that's the sort of vibe that I wanted, but it was a bit scary, to be honest with you. But then once I regained my focus and sort of finished doing these calculations, because I did a lot of calculations. I mean, I had started off wanting to make 5 hours. After that, I realized I could not make 5 hours. Then I'm like, okay, 5:15 is easily doable. And after that, I realized that no, 5:15 was not going to work. And now I was chasing 5:30, because if I had not made that 5:30 cutoff, I was just going to drive home. I was not going to go to Benoni and do the Jonhson Crane, because remember, this was the Three Amigos. Now, if I was cut off at the second Amigo, what's the point of going to the third Amigo? So while that was playing in my mind, I sort of sped up a bit, and I caught up with the guys that had passed me, the last guys that had passed me. I caught up with this old gentleman who told me his story. Well, first, let me be honest, because I was too embarrassed that I was right in the back. I'm the one who started the conversation, and I said to him, look, this is tough because I did another marathon earlier in the morning, so we'll see how it goes. And then he asked me, are you mad? Are you trying to kill yourself? I was like, no, it's just a challenge that we're trying to do. Then he dropped a bombshell. He told me that, look, he had run, I think 7 or 8. I remember I was not really focusing at that time. I think he said 7 or 8 comrades marathons. Then he had a heart complication, and then they had to put some small pipe or whatever on his heart. I remember he told me the scientific term. And then he said, so since then he has slowed down, but he had still managed to run 2 more comrades marathons with the heart complications, which I looked at it and I thought, okay, here I am complaining about my stomach issues, and there is a gentleman who's got much bigger problems, but he keeps going. He's got that zeal, he's got that will to keep going. And that sort of like made me think twice, think again, that I was not, what I thought was a bad day on the road was not really bad, because it could be worse. So from there, and because I always normally look forward to the last 5 kilometers, I think I just get this renewed energy, because it's just 5 kilometers, it's a park run, it's an opportunity to try and speed things up. If you really get tired or your wheels come off, it's only 5 kilometers, you can deal with those. Unlike if your wheels come off at 20 kilometers and you still have another 22 kilometers to go. So I then sped up a bit, and I caught up with this couple that had passed me much earlier. And then after that couple, I caught up with, I think there were 3 guys. And then I caught up with a huge bus. There was a bus there. I think it was like 8 of them. There were 3 guys and 5 ladies. And the bus driver was really trying so hard to motivate these guys. They were now doing in a city we would call it pour to pour. But there they were counting the lanterns, because the lanterns I think were spaced about 10 meters apart. And they were now counting those and keeping encouraging each other that let's keep going and all that. But when I passed them, I just knew that chances of them making the cutoff were very slim, because they were not running even 100 meters. They were running like 20 meters and walk, 20 meters run, 20 meters walk, and I knew that they would struggle. I stayed worried, folks. I don't want to lie. I kept worrying about it until about the 40th kilometer, or 40.5, when I checked my watch and I realized that, okay, I still have a lot of time. I think by that time I had about 17 minutes, so I kind of knew that, okay, I can easily make it, because it's less than 2 kilometers now. Even if I ran at 8 minutes per K, I would still put in 2 kilometers and make it. But I must tell you one more thing, folks, that also made my worries worse. My watch and the distance markers were not tallying, so they were not in sync. I had tried to press that thing on your watch when you come to a distance marker, but 10 kilometers later, my watch was 200 meters ahead. So that also played in my mind psychologically. I wasn't sure of where I was. My watch is telling me that you've reached 40, but the distance marker is nowhere to be found, only to find it later. So that also worried me in those last 16 minutes that, oh, what if I just fall short? So I then sped things up to really fast. I think in the last 1.2 kilometers, I must have gone at just below 6:30 or close to 6 minutes, because I wasn't going to take chances. I really had to get this in, because I had waited for these Three Amigos for quite a long time. So I remember making the last 10 off the road now, because this main road that's going, but you make it right 10 towards the showgrounds, and it was quite a bit down, so I just went for it. Boy, I just carried on. And as I was making the last 10 into the stadium, I think I was right. I think when I checked my watch, I knew that I still had like 3 minutes before the cutoff. But 50 meters away ahead of me, there were these ladies, the marshals or race officials. They then said to me 1 minute to go, and I think at that stage I still had like 300 meters. I'm thinking 1 minute to go, 300 meters, I'm not going to take chances. And I just sprinted and sprinted. And when I crossed the finish line, the guys told me that, yeah, you are lucky, hey, you just made it. So they made it sound like I had crossed the line at like 5:29:59 kind of thing, but that was not the case. I then sat immediately next to the thing, and I saw them preparing that gun, and then I saw them do the countdown, and I think there must have been 5 or 6 more runners that came after me, and then that was it. They fired the gun and they started picking up. And I sat there and just thinking about how close it had been. I almost missed this cutoff, and maybe I could have done certain things better, that sort of thing. But because it was getting late, I didn't have that luxury of sitting there and mourning and all that. I had to carry on. So I headed to the car and I met up with Don, who was kind enough to bring some energy drink for me and met me halfway. And from there we took a shower. It was a cold shower, but it was quite erratic because the water was not coming out as we would have loved after such a brutal day. But nevertheless, we took a shower, and that was it. We jumped onto the car and we drove back. And driving back, really, we just talked about the race. And I speak for myself here. As I've said to you folks, it was a tough day at the office for me. I had these stomach issues. I even forgot about my ITB issues because that didn't really give me problems at all. It was just the stomach story that gave me problems. But I think the organization is top notch, top class. There was water everywhere. I think their water sachets were even the bigger ones. There was cool drink, fruits and all that, jelly sweets, whatever they are called, at every water point. And the vibe there is even brilliant because it's like in the evening and all these water points were just dry areas because the guys that were manning those water points were having their own party on the side and having braais and all that. And the atmosphere on the road was just brilliant. Despite suffering, I think I will do it again because there was a point where it was just dead silent. All I heard was those insects, or they call them what, crickets, whatever those insects are called. And then if you looked up, you just saw stars everywhere. It was quite pristine. I really loved it. And some parts that you passed there, you just could smell this like farm thing. I think there must be water holes or water, whatever. So the animals, especially cows, probably come and drink from there. And yeah, it's a feeling that I really enjoyed at some point, maybe because I was trying to distract or detract myself from this pain that I was going through. I even thought, imagine just coming there, just have a picnic on the roadside in the dark, nothing else, just your small lamp and all that. Then I remembered, in Alice in Wonderland you could do that, but not here. There are all sorts of factors. So that's how beautiful it was, and those lanterns on the road. So if you were coming from up a hill and going down, you can see very far down, you can see a line of these lanterns. I think it was quite a beautiful sight. At some point I really wanted to record some videos of that, but because I was just dealing with too much, folks, I didn't have the energy to start now focusing on is my camera and thinking. So if I go back, or let's say when I go back, I would definitely want to have that sort of footage. And when we got to the finish, everyone was gone. As I've said, it was only the race officials. So probably the guys that came late earlier before me in the back there must have enjoyed the vibe, because when we started the race, the grandstand at the stadium was full, and the pink tutu runner kept saying the whole community is here. So I would have loved to see when you come back, when you finish your race and the whole community is cheering you up. But if you've never done it, I definitely encourage you, even if you're not doing it as part of the Three Amigos, just doing the Ottosdal on its own, I would definitely encourage you to go and do it. I will be going back. I want to see how it feels when you are having a good day at the office, when you are fit, you don't have stomach problems and all that sort of things. So I give the Ottosdal Marathon a very, very big, fat thumbs up. I think the organizers did a brilliant job. It's something that I would want myself and any other person to experience. Then, folks, came the final leg of the Three Amigos, the mighty Jonhson Crane. But before we get there, as I said, we left Ottosdal just before midnight. I think it must have been 23:52, and Don drove the first part as usual. And one thing, guys, I must tell you about the Pink Tutu runner. He must have driven for VIP protection, whatever. The guy drives very nicely, smooth. Unlike some of us, you hit the accelerator, you hit the brakes. The Pink Tutu runner knows how to drive. So yeah, fat thumbs up to you, Pink Tutu runner. Anyway, so it took us about we left at 23:52, somewhere there, and then 2400, 1, 2, 3. So it took us about 3 hours and some minutes because we arrived at our hotel in Benoni just after 3 a.m. and we only really got to our beds at like 20 past 3, and all we did was set alarms, dump everything, and hop into bed. And then, folks, as we are really now getting into a deep sleep, just before 4 or just after 4, the other runners in the hotel then started making noise. They were excited. They were already up and ready to go. So we couldn't even try and continue sleeping. In any event, I was worried that if I just crossed that Rubicon, if I just crossed that threshold, I probably wouldn't wake up. So immediately, just after 4, we woke up and we started getting ready because the next race was starting at 5:30. So all in all, we had an hour of sleep maximum, but it was just below an hour. Yeah, we arrived at the start just before the official or the advertised starting time. But then when we got there and then 5:30 came, there was an announcement that, there's a slight delay. We were waiting for traffic police, or we are waiting for traffic police to give us a go ahead. So I stood there, I'm like, what the hell? I could have had an extra 10 minutes sleep in the car, even if the people in the hotel were making noise. I could have had that extra 10 minutes sleep in the car. But it is what it is, folks. We had started this and we had to finish it. When then the starting gun went off, and as you know, those who have been to Jonhson Crane before, you know, it's a mighty race. Everyone is excited. Some of the Joburg or the local guys, let's say the Gauteng guys, are running their first race for the season, because I think the races before that were actually out of town. There was Mili, and then I can't remember the other one that was there. Then there was another one in Mpumalanga. So for some of the local guys, this is their first race and they're excited. And the first few kilometers always fly by. Folks, welcome back to the 100 before 40 things. Today, this is the Jonhson Crane Marathon number 3 of this weekend. As I told you earlier, I kept quiet for a while. I just wanted to see how it would go. We have just crossed the 11-kilometer mark, and it's still fine, it's still okay. I know the hard part will probably come after 32 when you hit the wall. So let's see how it goes. And folks, it's something that I have wanted to do as part of the 100 before 40, to run the Three Amigos. So it looks like we're on course to achieve that. Let's see how it goes. But once again, folks, because of the nightmare that I had at Ottosdal, this 5 hours 30 minutes cutoff, I wasn't too sure what the cutoff was here. I remember asking the marshals twice. The first one, he was just completely out. He did not know. I said to him, hey, what's the cutoff? He gave me this look like, cutoff? Like, yeah. But anyway, because I realized he doesn't know what I'm talking about, I just left. And then 5 kilometers later, I asked another marshal, hey, what's the cutoff? But I think the first guy was even better. He just didn't know. He didn't say anything. The second guy then said to me, I think it's about 5:30 to 6 hours. And I asked myself, I'm like, what is this guy talking about? How can the cutoff be 5:30 to 6 hours? It's either it's 5:30 or it's 6 hours. There is no in between. So at that point now, I started again worrying about this cutoff thing. Then I decided that, you know what, whatever the cutoff time is, I'm just going to aim for 5:30 because then I can keep it closer to the previous race or last night's race. And that's what I did. I aimed for that and carried on and carried on. And I can't remember very well whether this was around the 36th or the 34th, the 34th or the 36th kilometer. But there was this hill in the industrial park side. And so it was quite long. The sun is up at that time and there's this long hill. And if these water points are organized in such a way that they allocate that this one will be there, this company, this club, this brand, this whatever, whoever did that has a very, very dark sense of humor, because after that long hill, right at the top, there was AVBOB. So I'm thinking, so these guys basically said, okay, let's kill them with this long hill. The sun would also roast them. And when they get to the top and they are dead, AVBOB is there ready to bury them. And I made a joke, but I think that it's just flew past the lady, because I said to the lady, okay, so this is where the funerals and the burials are taking place. And she just gave me this look, and I was like, okay, sure, I carry on. But yeah, it is what it is, folks. Sometimes these jokes are very dry. I think that one was very dry. Anyway, and then just after that, I met up with a good friend who basically looked at me and said, look at you. I was like, for a friend, I'm here. It is happening. You know, we said we would do it. It is happening. And from there, because I was now in the last 5 kilometers, like I said, normally the last 5 kilometers, I always have this, I don't know where this energy comes from. Plus, we were now back into the suburban area. There were these tree canopies, and we were now doing the short twists and turns. That part felt a bit good, but then as I got to the last stretch, which is like, it was a long straight, and then you turn right, you go down a bit, then you turn into the stadium. And I was looking at my watch now, I'm seeing it like I'm sitting at like 5:28 or 5:27, and I still have a good 600 meters to go, and things are not really working out, but I kept pushing and I kept pushing, and turned left into the stadium on the grass, and I kept pushing. At that time it was now 5:29 on my watch. And then what I did, there were 2 timing mats there. I think the one is back up. So when I crossed the first one, it was lights out now. I thought I had finished. So I stopped and took out my phone and started recording a video and taking pictures of the finish line. And then realized that, oh no, actually there's way under the banner, that's where the actual finish is. So by the time I crossed that finish, my time was now 5:30, 34 seconds. But look, one way or the other, I had made it. It was not too bad of a time. The cutoff was 6 hours anyway. And at that time, you get these jitters, some shiver, like, okay, this is it. I've done it, the Three Amigos. I mean, after having heard of the Three Amigos a few years ago from these 2 chaps, Julian, the Legend Cup, and Don, the Pink Tutu runner, I had planned to do it in 2020, but I couldn't make it because of an injury, then COVID and all that. I just didn't run a lot in 2020 and 21. And because this 100 before 40 project, the 40 is now coming. And if I don't do these things before the 40 comes, it wouldn't be complete. So I had to go, and if I tell you about how I trained, because in November, after the back-to-back at Soweto, I got this ITB issue, and I ran those other 2 races. Those, you can watch the reviews that I did for those other 2 races, struggling with this ITB, and had to adjust my training program. From the last marathon I ran on the 3rd of December, I never ran more than 15 kilometers, but what I did is I would run 10 kilometers in the morning and I'd run 10 kilometers in the evening. And it was also part of the training for the 2 Amigos. So having trained longest run 15 kilometers when I went running with my wife, training for your own race, I had just done like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. So in the beginning it was quite nerve-wracking that, okay, what if I get to 30 and yeah, the whole thing collapses? It didn't collapse at Wonderpark. I got to Ottosdal, what if it collapses when I get to 30? It didn't collapse. And then, yeah, even though I had a tough time there, then go to Jonhson Crane, head and sort of below the radar kind of run, you know, talk to people that, yeah, you know, but not really sure that, yeah, I'm here, I'm doing the Three Amigos. It was like low profile, that kind of thing. So when I crossed the finish line for the third time, I was very proud of myself. Even now, I'm still very proud that I had managed that feat of those 3 marathons in those 30 hours. I know there are people that have done much longer distances and all that, but it's all about your abilities. For my abilities, I was quite chuffed. It was a remarkable achievement, having struggled with the back-to-back in November. Now I've even done 3 of them. I don't want to repeat what has already been said ad infinitum everywhere. It's always a well-organized race. It's always a high-profile race. There's always water and all that. I've not done it in any year where we struggled with water or whatever. Maybe in some years some people had made a few comments about I did not have any problems. The only downside probably when I went to collect my race pack, I got there, the t-shirts, my size, the medium was not there and we had to wait an hour, that kind of thing. But they came. That's the most important thing. The t-shirts, they said wait for whatever period. The t-shirts came, I got my t-shirt. Other than that, folks, on the road, I enjoyed it. It was an absolute gem. There was enough water, enough cold drink and that sort of thing. The route as well, they changed from the traditional 2-lapper. This was a 1 lap, even though there was just a short part which you ran twice, but after that you then ran the other side. So that made it more exciting for me, because the 2 lappers kind of get boring, especially when you are tired. And besides that, the weather, the earlier weather was fine. It was overcast. In fact, we even joked with someone else that, hey, it might just rain here. And then later on the sun came out, but it came out when it was halfway through. But these are things that no one has control over. This is nature. It's what it is. If the sun comes out, the sun comes out. But if there's enough water and cool drink or refreshments, people can deal with it. The support on the roadside, yeah, every corner you came, there were people cheering you up and all that, and saying, keep going, you're doing good, well done, which kind of encourages you at in a way, if you're struggling like I was struggling. So it's a no-brainer when it comes to the Jonhson Crane. It's always a first thumbs up. If you haven't done it, you should go and try it. If you've done it before and you're wondering whether it's still the same, it is still the same. I would encourage you to go. I will be sure to go back next year, probably as part of the Three Amigos again. But hey, don't quote me. I'm just saying I will be at Jonhson Crane. So there you have it, folks. That was the Three Amigos 2023. The 100 before 40 ticked another box, because I've always said these challenges as part of this 100 before 40. So the Three Amigos one, we've ticked the box. We did it. We conquered. And onward we march. So until the next time, folks. But before we do that, if you liked this race review, if you liked this video, please give me a first thumbs up. And if you have not done so yet, please subscribe and press the bell so that you get notifications when we post something new. Other than that, folks, thank you for following. And until the next time, cheers.